folks, I'm sorry. It's just Zoom upgraded, right? So now whenever you hit the button, you get this little voice, and so you got mail recording in progress, and it still freaks me out because it's like, I guess the bleeping red button was an indicator enough that I'm recording. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Freedom. And once again, we're the Omega Files. Now, a lot of people are going to ask me, why do we do it this way? It's very simple, because the show airs on Sunday. And now that we have to start at 6 in the morning and they've had us on 9-hour days, I have to be at work by 6, which means I got to be up at 4 the following morning. So recording the podcast after the show airs, it's, then trying to edit and have it up the following day. Oh God. It's just easier to do it this way. Plus we avoid the whole spoiler Rama nonsense. But let's get to the whole matter. The War of the Sontarans. Now, it's nice to see the old school Sontarans back, because one of the things that seemed to happen over the course of the Davies and the Moffat era, villains became laugh items, comic relief. Like, here's my favorite one, the Zygons. They brought them back for the 50th, right? Now they can shapeshift in anything but a bunny, but when they want to hide in the undergallery, they stand under a sheet. Okay, I don't get that. They couldn't shapeshift into something that looks like a statue, but it's like. But also, let's throw the other one. The Sontarans. We got Strax, and like I said, they just became like Oompa Loompas on some kind of ecstasy. I don't know. They were just hyped up all the time and all that, and they just came off more as jokes than they did as a threat, like in the old days. And then, of course, the infamous Daleks. Daleks became a laugh item. Daleks are so stupid they can't blow up their own asylum. No, let's go hire the guy who kicks our butt every time and bring him into our inner sanctum. And then we'll just let him run loose on the planet with the thing we're afraid of. Wow, conquerors of the universe. I wouldn't trust these guys to lead ants to a picnic. But you see what I mean? It's nice when they get villains back to the point that they're actually, somewhat threatening. They're not there to tickle your funny bone. They're not there to make you laugh. As you saw here, proper Sontaran etiquette was, thrown in. Like I said, you had the guy who got captured who comes back, and then he begs for mercy, and he got it, because that's Sontaran mercy. Bolt to the head. Yeah, okay, that's it. But I want to hear your guys' takes, for I really wander off into the Twilight Zone. So we're going to start at the bottom this time, because I think we started at the top last time, if I remember right. So let's start with William. What did you think of War of the Sontarans, episode 2 of Flux?
Hey now, everybody. It's not like I said last week, this is a 6-part story. So now we are 1/3 into the season. As like I said last week, each little synopsis that happened in part 1 goes into these episodes. Like this one was a Sontaran one, and of course next week we have to deal with the Cybermen, and which might lead into the Angels. So we deal with that when that shows up. It's not a bad story, but the one thing that puzzled me is when the Doctor and crew landed, where the battle took place. They all say that it supposedly fell out of the TARDIS before it landed. And I'm saying to myself, well, if I'm falling from a TARDIS, no matter how high it is, because I landed, none of them had broken bones, I should have had a couple of scrapes and bumps on me, because that's a battlefield and that's not a flat land. At least one should have had a bump or maybe a cut, not a deep lacerated cut. But you landed in an area that's full of dead bodies. I mean, I thought at least one could have had a scrape, something. And I'm like, man, it must be great falling out of the TARDIS and not getting hurt. I said, I'd love to see that again. The battle was great with the Sontarans, and they may miss me out of these soldiers. And the Doctor was warning, don't fight with them, because they're not human, and the technology is much more advanced than these petty, you could say, BB guns that were using on them. Because it did nothing to the Sontaran, nothing. But funny that I forgot his name, the companion, he did more damage to the Sontaran with the walk, hitting him in the back than all these military soldiers, which I'm like, wow. It happens. When you can say it perplexed me, a little bit upset at me that the Doctor on the 3rd time believed that the humans will listen and respect what she once done. which was the doctor did not learn during the Petri era when the Sontarans was wiped out by the Brigadier, and when Tenet was backstabbed by the PM, and then used that technology to shoot these people out of the sky. And then, of course, this guy just blew up all these Sontaran ships when they were leaving home. And I'm like, you should have learned from this and make sure either this guy did what you did or did what you did to that soldier and knock him out, so he doesn't do any damage to your plans. It's a good story and a good historical one, but it is a real history that took place. But when they went to the, you can say, the companions dealing with you can say the main villains for this season, really nothing happened except for maybe one person who was suspended animation got turned to dust, and in the end you see these two frozen, but they were still able to talk, which I'm scratching my head on that because the other people that are frozen didn't talk. And then it sort of ends in a cliffhanger, like the villain is gonna kill this chick. Well, we already know from set photos she's in the next year's 3 specials, so nothing's gonna happen with her. So that's a stupid cliffhanger ending right there. It's not a bad story, but again, this is part of a 6-part story that is leading to each thing. But what's unusual is since the main villain now is in the ending of this past episode, how that means is the next beginning is the doctor's going to deal with this villain and then of course got to deal with the Cyberman, or once again it's going to pop out of there and deal with the Cyberman and not deal with the main villain again. I mean, it's like, again, it's not a bad story, it's not a bad season, but it needs more straight storyline where we know where everything is. Considering we still haven't had the episode when the doctor meets this girl that got sent back in time by the agents. So, and then those people digging in the tunnel. I mean, you only had one little the guy showing up, talking to this girl, and then he disappeared. Like, like what the hell? So now we got to find out what's going to happen, how the situation ends, and from this episode, and how it carries on to the season. So we wait and see and finds out. That's my empathy statement.
Okay, AJ, you're up.
Hey there, long time no see and all that. It's good to see that classic Sontarans are back. I actually rewatched a bit of this before the podcast, and the armor is like dented and rusted, and it's like really ragged because the previous ones we've seen, they're all brand new, blue and shiny. So I'm going to say these are the older Sontarans that have survived, for however long they live. And the previous ones, they're all the fake bad batch ones. So that sort of gives a dynamic between their characters and why they're so different, I guess. But it's good to see Sontarans, battling and killing and relishing the kill. Good to see a bit of history in there as well with Mary Seacole. I didn't know anything about this history because I'm Australian, so I'm ignorant. Also, I like the fact that there was a bit of Greek mythology in this running through this series, because I looked up the word atropos, because I tend to look up the words for the alien species during the series whenever they pop up. And this one actually has a link back to Greek mythology, like I said, which is the Fates, the 3 Fates. Atropos is the oldest of the 3 sisters, I believe. So it looks like the Atropos of the Minari or Mori or whatever they are, maybe linked to the fate of everyone in the universe, because it seems like time just flows right through their planet. So maybe something's going to break and the timeline's going to reset. I don't know. Who knows what Shinra's going to do. But the one thing that really annoyed me was Yaz actually had written on her hand WWTDD. That's like a religious person having on a bumper sticker on the back of their car that says, "What would Jesus do?" or something to that effect. That just really irked me a little. She didn't need that reminder, because it's always sort of up here, how can I be a better person? How can I do something to help someone, and so forth. But I'm liking the whole idea of swarm, because I don't know, is the swarm person like from the Doctor's future? And the Doctor has no idea because they haven't lived that part of the future yet, or it's all unknown and uncircular. So I'm confused as hell right now. But yeah, that's me for now.
Okay, DWC.
thanks to like last week, got something written down. Also, one, I apologize if my mic goes out. I realize that's been happening quite a bit. I don't know how to do that, so I'll try and talk slowly. And also, I need to make a correction of something I said last week. Last week, I said that Dan Starkey was playing the Sontarans. I was actually wrong on that. He played one Sontaran. He was playing the holographic Sontaran, but the other one was played by Jonathan Watson, and he was the one who I was claiming sounded like Lynx. But Dan Starkey can do an impression of Lynx. I have heard him do it, so I wasn't wrong there. Okay, so that out of the way. The Sontarans are back, and now have finally mastered time travel, and one has fulfilled his dream of riding a horse. Using the Crimean War as a backdrop, this episode was able to show the potato heads in a way that has never been on screen before, with brilliant performances by Jonathan Watson and Dan Starkey, providing a nostalgic feel to the Sontarans of old, to the point of even referencing Lynx, all the while providing a history lesson with Mary Seacole and the British Hotel, albeit in an altered history with no Russians. Meanwhile, Dan is back in his own time and out past curfew. While proving he can handle himself, he did seem to be used more as exposition for explaining the probic vent. Also, someone should tell the BBC to let John Bishop write his own jokes. This episode also reintroduced Caravastia, proving the Lupari are going to be around a lot longer this series. Also, apparently, you can show Sontarans being executed on screen, but not humans. Meanwhile, Yaz is asking herself, what would the Doctor do at the Temple of Atropos, which honestly looks like the set for Gallifrey last series, and housing the Mori, who it seems defeated Swarm, Azure, and now Passenger before, and has now trapped Yaz as a Mori. With the Doctor having to cope with all of this, and the TARDIS slowly destroying itself, an easy way to create a new interior when Rusty Davis comes back, maybe? On second thought, maybe not. It's hard to see where the story will go from here. Just what is the meaning behind the creepy house in the Doctor's dream at the beginning of the episode? And what the hell happened to Mr. Wilson? Did he get lost in the tunnel after meeting Yaz?
That floating castle reminded me of the anime of Howl's Moving Castle. And of course, somebody from Tottenham came bringing up Lung Barrel. Like, oh, great, don't bring that up now. That's a can of fish you don't want to deal with.
Also, we have another actor who's come back from previous Who, by the way, in a way, because if I remember right, this horse has been in Doctor Who before. I can't remember if this is Arthur. I think it is.
David Tennant.
Yeah, from Girl in the Fireplace, if I remember right. Because somebody was going on about that earlier this week. Yeah, that the horse, and then it was verified. Yeah, that this horse, has appeared on Doctor Who before. But what I loved about the Sontarans also, not only was the armored, look at this mean, ugly guy back here. Not only is the armor dented, beat up, look at this guy's face. I'm not kidding. He's scarred up. He's obviously been around a while. Plus, it's just, he had, war veteran written all over him. And plus the way he betrayed himself, I think his name was Skak or something like that, wasn't it? And it was a really weird name this time around. And that was one of the great performances of this thing. I love that opening, scene where we first see him. He's on the horse and, they're riding through the battlefield with the bodies and, smell, the thing, smell the bodies of the way of victory. No, I know we're going to get to Bo here in a sec. So I just wanted to bring that up about the horse. Okay, go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, so after seeing Vinda, the Covenanter, the Swarm, and the Swarm sister again in this episode, I'm assuming they're going to be the regulars of the series. And also going on from what Dr. Freedom said, since Chris Chibnall has been showrunner, he's made the Daleks do what they're supposed to be doing, and now he's made the Sontarans do what they're supposed to be doing. And I like that the Sontarans were that these particular Sontarans were kind of a combination of the classic era and the modern era. Like they had the physical appearance, and the way they acted was from the classic era, and they retained the catchphrase that they used in the modern era, which is Sontar, and because of the flux, the Sontarans interfered with the Crimean War, and instead of the British soldiers fighting the Russians, they were fighting the Sontarans instead, and I like that the Sontarans combined Russia and China into one country, and they called it Sontar. I thought that was really good, and I liked Mary's sequel in this episode. Although I know that she's a historical figure, but I don't really know much about her except for what I've seen in this episode. She used to look after the wounded soldiers and all that, but I don't really know what else she did though. And also I liked Dan's parents. I thought that was funny as he was. And also I like that one of the previous sometimes Commander Ling's got a mention. And also I like that they that the Carbonista saved Dan by taking out all those Sontarans with his gun thing. And also after seeing the ending, it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen to Yaz and Vina. So it's going to happen with all that going on in the next episode. But yeah, this episode overall was a really great episode. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see what comes from the rest of the series.
That's another thing I liked about this episode, and the fact they're doing it in this format was at the end of the episode, you have Swarm, reaching towards Jazz. And that's something you would see in the classic series, back when it was 25-minute episodes, and they'd usually have a cliffhanger at the end of that chapter or that serial, where somebody's either about to get shot or they're about to get blown up, and that's what it reminded me of, because you see him reaching over, and you've seen what he does with that hand before, and it's not anything disturbing like that, but it's just it just really reminded me of a cliffhanger from the old days, where they cut out and you go, because now you got to wait to see what happens. But okay, DWC, you got your hand up. Let's hear what you got to say.
Yeah, just for looking at my notes here. I mean, I already mentioned in my opening thing about how the Sontarans had finally achieved time travel, and I did think that was actually an interesting point, because obviously in the classic series they appeared 4 times, and 2 of those times, one, they invaded Gallifrey, so that was obviously some sort of attempt to get into power time travel, and the 2 Doctors, I know it wasn't from a Time Lord, but they did certainly try to get time travel, but they couldn't achieve it. Either, I don't know why, because contrary to what the Doctor said in this episode, I don't think the Sontarans are that stupid. I mean, they are a warlike race after all, so you can't really be that powerful and not be that stupid. But Dan Starkey does give a great performance for a comedic, stupid Sontaran. Also another little bit of tidbit. I mean, to highlight John Watson's performance, you don't really notice it very well, but because he plays 2 Sontarans, both of them commanders, and the one of them in the Crimean War, when the Doctor's signaling for the parley, you may not notice it, but he's actually licking his lips, just in a really good Sontaran way, which I thought was a really nice touch for a Sontaran.
Plus, what I liked was, as Bo mentioned, this whole Sontar Ha thing. This time when they did it, it was more like they were coming to attention, and then boom, they clicked the one heel down. I loved that. That was 50 times better than the let's do the line dance move. I loved this better, because it was more like a military type thing. It was almost like the Ura of the Marines, and the SEALs. That's what it reminded me of more than anything. Whereas, when they did it back, Christopher Ryan and all that back in, the Poison Sky and all that stuff, Sontaran stratagem, they're just, Sontar. It's like, I thought they're going to break down and, break out and do a line dance. It's like, but whereas this time when they did it, it was just far more, had a more military feel to it. That's what I loved about it. It just really, really clicked. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, Sontarans are, as we all know, one of them did play around with time travel, and of course they mentioned him, and that was Lynx. But after that, for some reason they just, they had like a limited ability to do it, because you'll notice that while he was traveling forward, he wasn't traveling actually in really in space all that much. He was like kidnapping scientists and zonking them back to his ship, and he could only go so far. He was literally going to the range, the very end of the range. Otherwise, he'd probably gone a little further, which would have been funny because that would have planted him right in the middle of the Dalek invasion. But wouldn't that have been a Sunday surprise? But what chair is it, human? 2150. Uh-oh. Okay. But that's one of the things I loved about this episode. Like I said, it brought a more classic feel to the Sontarans, made them seem like more like a military fighting force rather than a bunch of clowns running around with guns. They were more orderly, more, they were rank and file. They were literally, disciplined soldiers more than anything. Okay, so anyone else have any more thoughts on this? Oh, Bo, you got your hand up. You go ahead.
I just wanted to point out that I also liked the interaction between Carbonista and Dan. I thought that was really funny. And I hope we get to see more of that throughout the rest of the series. So I reckon they work really, really well together.
Okay, AJ, you go ahead. You got your hand up.
Yeah, I find it funny that Dan actually did a look behind you on a Sontaran and smacks him with the walk. And he's like, all right, now I'm going to walk on out of here.
Plus, a lot of people were a bit confused by his use of slang and all that. I think he was asking where the bathroom was or something like that. Is what he was referring to, because it's while we do know some English stuff here and there, from way up north there's like a whole different language almost. So, like instead of bobbies they have busies and things like that.
Well, they sound very Gaelic. That's what it is, man. Up there, either that or they sound they came from Dundee. So it depends which one you're taking.
But now I must agree with some people out there. This was a totally walk episode. There is far too much walk dialogue. The whole plot seemed to be walk motivated, and I was going to have a field day with that. And I begin to wonder when I rewatched this episode again today. Do you think maybe they did the walk thing on purpose? I'm not kidding. There's a part of me that thinks that this was done as a jab against a certain group in the audience, who every other word is woke. So that's what I think. That's why I think instead of just using a frying pan, they actually deliberately put a walk in there, just to really, have a laugh at the audience. That's my theory. I don't know it for a fact, but it just seemed like it to me the more I watched this episode, that it was deliberate.
Okay,
go ahead.
I got a question. Which story was it that it takes 27 hours that the Sontaran need to recharge or like eat or stuff like that? I don't remember in one of the past stories that being mentioned. Either that or I forgot it.
No, this was a whole new thing, and like I said, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, because it's kind of like going to the bathroom in a movie or something like that, or in a TV show. It's just something they never really addressed before, because I'm like, it's a whopping 7 minutes every 27 hours. So, like most of the time when we've seen Sontarans and all that, we really haven't seen, like a whole day of theirs or anything like that. Just saying instead of 24, they've got 27. But they always did have that probe event. It was always mentioned that it had something to do with, feeding them and all that. They just decided to play on it and make it, go into it a little bit more. All right, AJ.
Past, they say that the Sontarans have been there forever. They've always been there on Earth. But in Dan's time, they only showed up 2 days after he disappeared. So there's like a is there a gap in the story there or something? To me, I think that's a bit of a plot hole. Yeah.
It could be because of the flux too. Like I said, they just seem to be everywhere. So it's kind of a weird thing going on. Just the fact that as far as everybody's concerned, they go, wait a minute, Russian. That sounds familiar. I could have swore I've heard it before, but it's kind of like a big weird Mandela effect. I think was the best way to explain it. If you've ever heard about that phenomenon, Google it. See, in my theory, the Mandela effect, it really is time travelers playing around with this man. Okay, William, you had something to say?
No, I just feel like it was a good question that I asked, but what's unusual is when in the present time the ships was ran down and destroyed and all that. Did they crash down, or did they end up like being teleported back to their planet? Because that means in the present day you got a bunch of ruined ships again that needs to be cleaned up. And then again, you got a bunch of ships from the past that got blown up. So where's that at?
Unless they got pulled into the time vortex or something because of the fact, like I said, we have no idea what's really going on right now because of the flux. Things are so screwed up that's going on right now. Heck, remember we had to go mention the fact that nobody remembered there was a cyber king walking around in the 19th century. So it's kind of one of those deals, I think, where something's going on. It's wibbly wobbly. Okay, DWC.
I was just wanting to comment on that by saying that I think Caravassia did say that it was a temporal implosion. So yeah, there is certainly a time travel. Maybe it's something to do with the flux. Maybe it's their own technology. Who knows?
Yeah, that's the thing, and that's why I love it. It's kind of like the normal laws and rules have been kind of tossed aside because we really don't know how this phenomenon is affecting everything. So it's like, who knows what's going to happen next, literally. But one of the things I also want to bring up, a couple of folks have mentioned the villains. We have Azure and Swarm, and one of the things I love most about them is the fact they keep hinting at the fact that they have something to do with the Doctor, but we know nothing about them at all. They're a total mystery. It's not like one of the other villains where we can say, okay, we know this is going to happen and this is going to happen because we know who this villain is. These two have obviously got these huge, like almost godlike powers. They've been referred to as Ravagers, but I don't really see them as being the same as from the 9th Doctor box set and Big Finish. Or maybe I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to that. I don't know, but at the same time, like I said, we know nothing about them, nothing at all, and that's one of the best parts. We kind of have to sit back and wait and see how it unfolds. Just to find out, because sooner or later they're going to have to do a flashback or something like that to explain how this all ties together, or how somehow explain it. Okay, anything else? Okay, DWC, go ahead.
To be fair, the very next episode might explain a bit, because if you actually quickly look at, there's a lot of images flashing there for that episode, but you kind of see the guns from the division, all those people from the division. So they may actually play a part in actually explaining who Swarm, Azure, and if that's how you pronounce the name, and Passenger are, which Swarm says translations, but good enough, close enough. So those aren't even technically their real names.
Okay, AJ.
Didn't I hear somewhere apparently Davros is coming back this season?
I've heard word about it, but like I said, I haven't been able to confirm it.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking maybe the Daleks are behind everything again, sort of back to the 10th Doctor area where they tried to rewrite the universe. Maybe they found a way of actually doing it. Sorry?
Sorry to interrupt, I don't like doing that, but the trailer, if you remember the trailer for it, the Doctor does actually mention the Daleks are coming through the flux. So, yeah, maybe Davros is coming. And I did read something about Sasha Dewan probably coming back as the Master. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, yeah, because in my thinking, because the Daleks have always wanted to change the universe, maybe they've used the flux to just reorder it, rewrite everything somehow. So, I don't know, stupid thought.
Okay, well, anyone else have anything else they want to bring up off the top of your head? Okay, because one of the things I wanted to mention what's going on is, as far as I know, everything's filmed, everything's wrapped, everything was done as of October 13th, which means as of 1 month, as of the time from the time we've recorded this in the past, everything wrapped. Then they had the Halloween wrap party, and then boom, that's it. From this point on, to those guys out there who have nothing to do but watch these episodes and complain, nothing's going to change. Nothing can change. Pretty much Chibnall's work is already done. The specials are already filmed and all that. At this point, you're just a bunch of bad sports spectators betting against an instant replay. Okay, it's done. It's in the can. It's edited. There's nothing that's going to change from this point on. At least not until RTD takes over. And it's going to be interesting, because one of the things I keep thinking is this. They did confirm this week the very last scene that was shot, which is kind of weird because they usually just mix these up, was Jodie's regeneration scene. So we do know that sooner or later, probably if they hold it to the end of the centenary, which I imagine they're going to do, she's going to regenerate, which is going to be kind of weird because if that happens, you're going to have a new Doctor walking into the 60th anniversary special. It's going to be kind of odd, but
not really, unless the main plot of that is he cannot regenerate, he or she cannot regenerate correctly and need help from the other doctors that was done in the story. I forgot which book was it.
Yes, but remember, we've been bit in the butt before. We've all sat there and go, it's got to happen. Come on, 2013, we're all wound up. And then we got, why does everybody love this crap? Oh, God. I'm like, that was me. Okay. I don't know how everybody else felt about it.
You mean the 8th anniversary?
Yeah, the 8th anniversary special, aka Heir of the Zygons. But which I can't figure out for the life of me. It's like, so let me get this straight. You're in charge of the planet in the 16th century. So let's go to the 21st, where your enemy is now even more outnumbers you and has advanced enough technology to wipe you out from a distance with guns and automatic weapons and nuclear weapons. Oh, but okay, let's get off that. DWC.
Just to make a little point about the regeneration, was mostly when viewed and Brian, but for anyone who wants to ask Jodie, so who's the next Doctor going to be? She's been on the last leg, and she's actually stated she doesn't know. She literally does not know who's taking her place, so no point asking her.
Yeah, it's not like the old days where you had to position yourself on set a certain way, and then somebody else came in. I think the last time that happened was with Matt Smith and David Tennant. Because she said she didn't meet Peter until months afterward or something like that, because they shot all her stuff and then they blew up the console and all that was after Peter's bit with the regeneration had already been filmed for I can't remember how many weeks beforehand. So, it doesn't happen the same way as it did in the old series. I'm not sure about what went on between Matt and Capaldi. I know they had to bring Matt back because they redid that whole scene at the end of his last show. They added that whole bit because they didn't want him going out as a shouty old guy at the top of a tower. But so I'm not sure how that worked out. But yeah, she said she hadn't met Peter, and she has not met her replacement because they shot her regen. They got her set up that way. They can try to keep it secret that much longer because people are watching Rothlock now. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if there's guys sitting up there, in rooms all around the place, like the old FBI surveillance things from the 70s. They got the big, huge camera pointing out the window with the lens so big they could probably see a flea's ass at 500 meters. Wait a minute, who does that look like? Zoom, damn it, zoom. And then, of course, you'll wind up with a fuzzy photo that looks just like, when someone tries to get a photo of Bigfoot. It's like, wait, I think that's wait, I recognize that shoe. Oh goodness. It just, but he's wearing the same shoe about 1,000 other people are wearing. Okay. So like I said, they're trying to keep things under wraps a lot more in this era. It's a lot harder. It was a lot harder to get any info except for certain people who worked on set, and I won't name their name. For the rest of us to get any info. Okay, so it's that time. Starting at the top, DWC out of 10. How do you rate War of the Sontarans?
Oh boy, I actually forgot about this part. I'll give it a 7.
That's okay. I almost did. Okay, I'll come back to you then. Okay, AJ, throw us a number.
Oh, I like the Sontarans, the history element. 7. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Pretty good. Pretty
Okay.
decent.
Bo?
I'm giving it an 8. It was a really good episode.
All right. William?
It seemed it was a good episode. Of course, it created some questions and ended on a bunch of questions. But again, this is a part 2 of a 6-part story. And so I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. And I'm gonna watch the next episode, see what happens after that. I mean, it hasn't been no clunker, but it does leave a lot of questions. That's the one thing that does. Now, will every question be answered? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8 for now. Like I said, it was a pretty solid episode as far as I'm concerned. You know, I pretty much enjoyed myself, so I can't complain. So, okay, DWC, you got a number yet?
Yeah, I did actually say 7, but yeah, just give it 7 like everyone else.
Okay, so folks, you're going to probably be seeing this on the morning or what do you call it? If I can try to get it edited, maybe tomorrow night. You know, before the next episode airs. So I don't want to hear any spoiler nonsense. I don't. So until next time, everybody, I believe the next episode that's airing is going to be Once Upon Time, and that's the next one we'll review. So everyone, please take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Have a great night.
Be seeing you.
See you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, puppies.
Hello, this is Dr. Freedom. Please don't forget to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to click on the little bell icon. That way you'll be notified when the latest news videos go up.